Greetings from the Garden of Eden. It is another episode of Bounties of the Land, and today the bounties of the land are pecans, a super delicious nut, which is very common here in the South United States or here in Texas, and pecan trees grow all over the place. And pecan trees, I really love this crop because, one, it's a native crop, which means it's very easy to cultivate, it's very easy to take care of, it's very low maintenance, and it produces, really well. It doesn't really have too much as far as disease or bug problems, right? Which is always one of the best things of native plants. So whenever I'm cultivating food production systems, my first choice is always native plants. So this is a native plant. The next thing I really love about it is it's really easy to preserve, right? It's as easy to preserve as coming to this tree, picking these pecans and throwing them in a bucket, right? That's it, because nature has already preserved them perfectly. Now, there's this outer shell, which when they're not ready is green. So the outer shell is now brown, which shows that they are fully matured and ready to harvest. If I don't harvest them, they'll start falling all over the ground, which, like, here we go right here. Alright, so here's a nice little triple. And that's another thing I love about the pecans. They grow in these sort of holy trinity triple nugs. Really beautiful, right? So once they're brown, you just take out this outer shell, and then inside is another shell. And this shell is airtight, it's watertight unless it gets, soaked in a bucket of water for a long period of time. But it'll preserve the nuts in here for, if they're in a bucket, a sealed container, years, really. And that makes it a perfect package, nature's perfect preserving package. Now, these are, native pecans, so they're kind of on the small side. There's a lot of, varieties of pecans where they're much bigger. So these are more work. The thing that I don't like about the pecans is that it is a ton of work. To break all these by hand, I can break these with my teeth. Right? But it's not really that pleasant, that fun, or, that good for you. Chipping teeth is somewhat common. But even then, you still got to get the little nuts out of the shell. They're not like one, almond where it's just one nut inside of the shell. It's actually multiple pieces of a nut. And they're kind of hard to get out, so it's kind of a laborious process. But they taste delicious. They're super nutritious. They grow super abundantly, super sustainable. They're a native plant, so that's all the things that I do like about them. Now, the only thing that really makes this practical or realistic is having some sort of a machine, not just like a little hand cracker, but some sort of a machine for these pecans. Now, if you live in a place like I do, we've got, probably about four pecan trees here, which is already, I don't know, a good solid 50 pounds of pecans a year. Plus, there's all sorts of areas around here that have pecans as well that we could easily go and harvest, because as with most wild food, people are paying no attention to it. They have no care, so it's just basically going to waste. So it actually pays itself off pretty quickly. The other option is that a lot of times, some kind of market or, some sort of local business will have some sort of a pecan machine, a machine that's designed to crack the shells and harvest the, the inner nuts. And oftentimes what they'll actually do is if you bring them, say, 100-pound of pecans, they'll keep 50 pounds, they'll keep half of it, and then they'll give you the other half. So you don't even have to pay for them, you just give them parts of your pecans. It's good for them because they already own the machine. It only takes a little bit of electricity and wear and tear on the machine, and then they get 50 pounds of pecans, which go for $10 a pound. So that's $500. But then you also get 50 pounds of pecans, which then go for, $10 a pound, so that's $500. So it's, it's a win-win situation. But if you have a lot, you can go for that machine, and every year, you just start paying that machine off. Obviously, pecans have some specific nutrient qualities, which I have not memorized in my brain, but basically all nuts are going to be high in protein. They're going to be high in fatty acids, and you know, fat is actually something that's really important. Unfortunately, in this society that we live in, there's this huge, you know, fear about fats. But fats are not dangerous at all unless they are like hydrogenated fats, saturated fats. And not even all saturated fats are bad either. But, you know, there is healthy fats and there's non-healthy fats. And that's a big topic of which obviously people need a lot of help on. So I should probably do a whole video, a whole article on that in and of itself. But suffice to say, the fats inside of these nuts are extremely healthy, as are the proteins. There's no preservatives, you know, there's no chemicals. It's 100% nutrients, right? Which is what we want, which is what we like when we are eating food for Thrival. So, like I said, they're super nutritious, they're super sustainable, they're really easy to grow. You don't even really need to water them, especially once they get established. I mean, this tree is, you know, really quite large, it's quite big. We get enough rain most of the time. In the middle of the summertime, we'll get sometimes 2 months without rain, you know, and we might water our trees once every 3 weeks or once a month or something like that. Give them a really good deep watering, and that's it. So this is a really fun crop. Happy to share this episode of Bounties with the land from our sustainable paradise here in the Garden of Eden. Bless and steam on.